with Jordan from Joranalogue. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Almost.
Almost. What's the correct pronunciation?
It's my name is Joran.
Jordan.
And it's Joranalogue audio design.
I have heard so much about your company on Muff Wiggler lately.
Really?
Yes, a lot. And so I'm very interested in what it is that you have. Would you show us some of your products?
Yeah. So I have some of the new products, some products from last year. So maybe I'll just give you a quick overview.
Please do.
Starting from the left. So this is filter 8. It's a new type of analog filter. So starting from the classic 4-pole cascaded low-pass topology, it has the separate low-pass outputs 1, 2, 3, 4.
I see.
And
wow.
Yeah, it also has additional outputs. So a 1-pole high pass, a band boost plus notch, a phase shifter output, and a 4-pole band pass.
Wow, that is an awful lot of different kinds of sounds you can get out of one thing.
Absolutely, and everything is available at once. You have 8 different output sockets.
Wow.
So let's do a quick, maybe turn it up a little bit. So that's just a general low pass saw wave going into the low pass. Let's increase the resonance. Now what's special about filter 8 is that it has an like a new kind of resonance circuits.
I see.
So unlike most low-pass filters, if you increase the resonance, you don't lose any low ends.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some which have some kind of compensation thing, but there's a completely new kind of resonance.
Interesting.
So I increase the resonance, and the low end just stays all the way there.
Wow,
like this.
That. And you're on, I believe that everything that you build is analog circuitry, right? This is not digital wizardry.
Yeah.
These are all analog circuits that you
Absolutely,
make.
yeah.
That's great.
So it's all solid state, analog, no digital messy stuff.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Right. So filter 8 also has a lot of other possibilities. So like another nice output is the band boost plus notch one, which is quite special. So
wow.
Is this? Yeah.
So smooth. So, oh wow.
Let's turn up the resonance.
Yeah.
All the way.
I know that the little lapel mic will not do this justice, but boy, does that sound good. Boy, that sounds really good.
I'm also afraid it won't, but yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
You have to hear it in person, folks.
Of course.
Right. So, of course, it also self-oscillates. So let's remove the inputs like this, plug it back in.
Yep.
Now we have sine wave oscillator.
Wow.
So that's a really clean, nice sine wave.
Can it actually track to 1 volt per octave?
Oh, absolutely.
So you basically are buying an oscillator as well as a really nice filter when you buy this thing.
Yes, so it's an 8-phase oscillator too. So all of the phases, and you can see this really well on this one, which is set to low frequency.
Yes.
So there's a range switch, low frequency, audio frequency. You can see the positives red, negatives blue. So you can see the
incredible
the phase shifting.
Yeah.
So this allows you, gives you a lot of modulation possibilities. Right. So on this one, let's turn down the resonance a bit. And let's create some filter ping sounds.
Okay, cool.
So normally if you want to create filter pings, you need like some short triggers, like a short envelope, something like that.
Right.
This just has it built in. So you take a gate from a sequencer, plug it in. Let's turn it up a bit. Now we're getting
cool.
Now we're getting some nice ping going on.
That's fantastic.
And of course, full octave. We can play some melodies.
Oh my God.
It goes nice and low. All right.
what's so interesting about that is you now have in one analog device, you have an attack decay device, you have an oscillator, and you have a filter all in one.
Basically, yeah.
Incredible.
So let's add some linear FM while we're at it. So I'll just turn it to the middle, add a sine wave from an oscillator into the linear FM inputs.
Yep.
This also has an AC switch, so you can, if there's some DC offset, you can remove it, so you don't get the pitch shifts. And now now we get some linear FM going.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, thanks.
Really, truly wonderful.
And what's also nice is that all of the outputs will have slightly different timbre and ping modes. So you have like this one, which has a bit more of a transient to it, so that's great for making kick drums.
Sure sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, so you can experiment, use different ones in different stereo channels or process them separately. All sorts of interesting stuff. Right. One useful addition is a amplitude compensation feature. So normally if you have a self-oscillating filter like this, all the outputs will self-oscillate at slightly different amplitudes. That's just a natural result of how filters work.
Actually, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So basically each pole lowers by 3 dB the self-oscillation. Now, if I engage the compensation, all the output gains are adjusted. So now they're all
the same.
All 10-volt peak, nice standard sine waves.
Interesting. That's cool. That's cool.
And that can be used in LFO mode or in audio mode. You can just engage compensation, like whatever you want. It can be useful in low frequency mode too, to leave it disabled, and then you have different amplitudes on the sine waves. Yeah. All right. Another useful addition is a hold circuit. Rather, it's the filter core itself which is being frozen, basically.
I see.
So it slows it down as much as possible. So with this one set as an LFO mode, I can engage the holds, and now the outputs just stay where they are. And now you can let them continue. And this can also be gate controlled. So you have a gate socket for this. But it's also great at audio frequencies. So let's just use it back as a VCO. Turn it down a little bit. And now I'll take a pulse wave from a VCO. I engage the holds. And now we get some sync sounds going. And this responds to the frequency of the VCO, of course the sync source, also the pulse widths. So
I have never seen so much variety out of a single filter module.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's fascinating.
That was basically the design goal, like put everything in it that's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the volt proctave is also temperature compensated, so it's nice and accurate. You get voltage controlled resonance. The modulation knobs are polarizers, attenuverters.
I see.
So you have positive, zero, negative modulation.
Goodness.
And you can use everything at the same time. So you have the volt proctave, the exponential FM, the linear FM, the ping, the hold, 2 signal inputs, everything at the same time.
Wow. Jordan, how much does it cost?
The cost is set to be €295.
295 euros, so maybe about 350 American, maybe a little more than that, something like that.
Yeah.
And who are your distributors? Where can people buy it from?
So that's Schneidersladen in Germany. It's like a big one. Also sell directly within the EU. There's a few in the US too, like Perfect Circuit is the biggest one.
Yeah.
So yeah, worldwide basically.
That's wonderful. Perfect Circuit is right in my backyard.
Oh, great.
So I go there all the time.
That's very dangerous, I think.
It is dangerous, but I'll go and take a look. I hadn't noticed your stuff before, but I'll go there and tell people just how powerful it is and how interesting it is. Okay, what else do you have to show us here?
So I have Select 2.
Okay.
which is one I've been working on for a while, but now it's ready for production, so it's going to be released in a few weeks probably.
I see.
This is like a Swiss Army knife for CV processing, but also audio. And the basic way to use it is to just generate a constant offset, plus 5 volt, 0, minus 5 volt on the output. So that's a basic application. You can also plug in a saw wave into the inputs, and now you get a attenuation. So you can make it negative. Let's take a unipolar signal. Right, so now it's negative.
Right.
Now it's 0, now it's positive. So that's just the basic application. Now you also get 2 signal inputs. You can choose between them using the select gate inputs.
Okay.
So it's a gated selector, gated switch.
Interesting.
By default, the left input is used, but if you apply a gate to the select inputs, which I can demonstrate this way, now it selects the right input, and the right input, nothing is plugged into it, so it's 0 volts.
I see.
But you can, like, it's really accurate for pitch CV use, so it can select between 2 sequences, for example. You can have some like waveform chopping at audio frequencies.
Oh, of course.
To select between 2 sources. Yeah, lots of stuff. Right. Next we have a hold input.
Okay.
So that's track and hold functionality.
Sure.
So whenever the hold is high, like I can demonstrate with this, you'll see now that the output stays where it is, and as I release it, it'll just continue following the inputs. Most track and hold or sample and hold modules, they are really only designed for audio use. So they'll manage like a few seconds maybe, and then they'll droop off, and they can't do any accurate kind of long-term storage with it. This will hold something to 1% accuracy for at least 10 minutes.
Wow.
So you can have sequence going in, it's pitch CV accurate. You can pause a note you can pause a sequence at a certain note and just hold it for a while and then continue going.
That's really neat.
And of course at audio frequencies you get the sample and hold, track and hold effects using this input. And then there is a unity gate input.
Okay.
This basically, it's as if the polarizer is disabled, as if it's set to the unity setting.
Okay.
So I'm now inverting the signal, and if I apply a gate to the unity, I now don't invert the signal.
I see.
Yeah. So it's a gated attenuator, a gated inverter, that kind of stuff.
And there are two channels?
Yeah. So you have 2 identical channels. If you don't use the top output, it's mixed together with the bottom output. So you can do offsetting, you can have 4 signals going in, select between 2, and then mix them together, and also attenuate and invert at the same time while you're holding, while you're doing the unity thing.
Wow.
So everything at the same time.
When will this be ready?
Just a few weeks normally.
Okay, so coming right up.
It's in production, and at the factory we're working on it. So.
And what is this going to retail for?
160.
160. Wow,
Yeah.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Right.
And then what else do we have over here?
We have 2 tiny new modules, which they're easy to miss, but they're very useful. So you have Add2, which is a precision adder or averager.
Yeah.
3 inputs, 1 output, and again here 3 inputs, 1 output. They're mixed together really precisely, so you can do like offsetting a pitch sequence, and each of the sections can also be set to average.
Oh, interesting.
So you have a jumper on the back, and you can choose which section. You can set it whatever way you want, and the averaging is useful for just quickly mixing together audio signals without clipping or combining LFO waveforms.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, I could see that. It also would be a very fun way to take a couple of sequences, put them in, and get sort of emergent melodies that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
Right, generative sequence stuff.
By just mixing notes together basically, and you get things transposing.
Very fun. And what does Link 2 do?
So that's precision buffered multiples.
Oh.
So 1 input, 3 outputs, and again here 1 input, 3 outputs. Yeah, designed to be really nice, accurate, precision. Can drive like cables without problems, long cables, things like that. So
That's great.
yeah,
That's great. Jordan, how much are these going to sell for? Or are they available now? Are they already?
they're probably coming together with filter 8s.
Got it.
So in a few months.
A few months.
Yeah, that'll be €75 each.
So very, very little. Just,
Yeah,
You know, for so much power, you know, very, very reasonably priced.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
see. Yeah. So tell us about Compare 2.
So Compare 2 has been out for a while now,
Yeah.
last year, and it's a dual window comparator. So like a normal comparator, it has a threshold value. It detects when an input signal is above the threshold, then the output goes high,
Yeah.
and otherwise the output is low. So it's a way of converting analog signals into digital, basically, like
Right.
gates 0 and 1, or 0 and 5 volts in this case. Now a window comparator is a bit different because it has 2 threshold values,
Okay.
and it checks if the signal is between the two. This also means that you have 2 parameters. You have a shift parameter, and this shifts the window up and down, and then a size parameter.
Right, which is depends. So that shows what the range is of the window.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Right, and these are the signal inputs, so you can plug anything into it. Can be an LFO, like let's plug an LFO in, like here. So we get some LED action, but can also work at audio rates. So now we're just grabbing gates out of an LFO going in. You can fine tune, like the size will set the pulse width basically.
Yep.
You can, like this, and the LEDs will show you the status in real time. White means the signal is within the window, red means it's above, and blue below.
Can you give an example of a musical situation in which you might use this comparator?
Yeah. So one application is to create complex melodies,
Okay.
like melodies or rhythms rather, rhythms which aren't on a grid. So you have an LFO going in, like a saw wave or sine or
Yeah.
triangle, and you just grab out gates, and you can shift them at any point within the LFO periods, and get rhythms that way going.
Very nice.
And you just change the parameters, which are also CV controllable, and you get different rhythms. And it is dual module too, so you have the left comparator, the right comparator. They can be used completely independently or together with the same input signals because of the normalization left to right.
Okay.
CV controllable parameters on the windows. And then on the bottom is a logic section.
Okay.
These are logic outputs, logic combinations of the gate outputs. So you have the AND, the OR, the XOR,
Yep.
and also a flip-flop, which changes states whenever the XOR goes high.
I see.
So you can do frequency multiplication and division, like PLL patches you can make, at audio rates, really complex PWM stuff. Yeah,
That's very, very cool.
Lots of possibilities on this one.
And this one's out now, right? You said
Yeah,
this one's
yeah.
been available for a year.
Yeah.
And how much does it sell for?
This is €180. Yeah.
Very, very reasonably priced. Jordan, tell us about Mix 3.
Yeah, so Mix 3 is a voltage controlled mixer
Okay.
in 6 HP.
Wow.
We have 3 input signals and actually a 4th one too. And let's turn up the signal. So you have indication LEDs for each of these channels, exponential control. These are the signal inputs, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Then beneath that we have the CV inputs. So you can have a CV, like let's create a little looping envelope like this, and plug it into the CV. I'll
Yeah.
turn this up. Wrong one. So now the knob is an attenuator for the CV.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Fun. And then the Rampage function generator has just turned your mixer into a VCA, into an envelope generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So normally, if you put the channel on the maximum, it's unity gain.
Okay.
But if you use a CV, you can go beyond into amplification, up to 20 dBs. So quite
That's
a lot.
wonderful.
Yeah. That's a very useful thing to have.
Oh, yeah.
So that's at 5 volts, it's unity gain. If you go like beyond, it starts to amplify. So actually the rampage gives quite, I think up to 10 volts.
I see.
So it's quite a lot. So if you crank up the CV amount, it'll start to like clip.
Yep.
Now most Eurorack modules, if they clip, they sound like terrible.
Right.
Really. This one clips in a nice symmetrical way. So it becomes a triple voltage control distortion like.
Wow.
So let's lower the frequency, turn it up a bit. Get some stuff going this way.
Wow.
So you can three channels, of that. You have a D inputs, so that's a fourth additional input you can plug something into if you want to mix four things together.
So that's just an additional signal.
Yeah, like an auxiliary input.
Right. Which might be, if you had a chain of these, then that might be an easy way to be able to output from one to the next.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
It is inverting though.
Oh, it is.
Which may be useful in some cases. Like sometimes you just want to invert something.
Yeah.
You have this. And then a level CV.
Okay.
This is a CV control over the total.
Over the global.
Yeah.
Wow.
This can also do the amplification, distortion thing. Useful for side chaining. You can side chain a whole mix. Yeah.
Is Mix 3 available or is it coming?
Yeah, it's available now. It's 160 euros, 160.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
All right.
So Switch 4.
Yeah.
Switch 4 is a performance switching and routing module.
Okay.
This was actually my first product released about a year ago.
I see.
And it was designed in cooperation with performing artists. Like you have a live thing going on, you want to be able to quickly switch and route signals. Yeah. You have 4 signal inputs. These are normalized top to bottom, so you can have one going to here, to here, to here. Then you have these switches to switch the signals through to the outputs.
Yeah.
These can be used in 2 ways. You can just enable them like this, or you can do this. So it's like spring action.
I see.
So like you can really play around.
When you do the spring action, is it keeping it going out to the output, or is it just going out momentarily?
Just momentarily.
Momentary switch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is latched.
Yeah.
And this is momentary. Yeah.
That's great. And so how many outputs? How many outputs you have? You have 4 inputs and 4 outputs.
Yeah, you have 4 regular switching outputs.
Yep.
Then you also have the routing section.
Right.
Here you can choose between the 4 input signals. So like this, A, B, C, or D. And then you also have these switches, so you choose your inputs, and then when this switch is enabled, like this or like this, the selected signal is sent through to the outputs.
Got it.
So it's 4 inputs to 6 outputs.
6 outputs. That's fascinating. And how much does it retail for?
This is 120 euros.
120 euros. Okay. Wow. Is this Test 3 your product as well, or is that?
That's yes, absolutely.
Please tell us about that.
So Test 3 is a little bit different because it's more like a utility aimed at DIY people or manufacturers too. It allows you to measure the voltages of your power supply.
Yeah.
So I can like this, the +5, +12, -12, this way. You also have a milliamps modes.
Oh, so you can see how much current your module is drawing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
So I have this one, and this is basically the same, but as a circuit board on its own.
Sure.
I plug this in the +12 modes. Right, and now it's showing real time.
That it's using about 24 milliamps, 25 milliamps in +12.
Yeah.
And then how much -12 is it taking?
0.
None. 0. Okay, so it's a unipolar.
Yeah.
Wow. Very, very useful for me. I do a lot of DIY. That would be a great thing for me to have.
Yeah.
And how much does that cost?
The DIY kits, you can get it just a circuit board like this. That's 70 euros.
Nothing.
And including the front panel is 95.
I'll buy one as soon as I get home. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Well, Jordan, I really want to thank you. You took a tremendous amount of time with us. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with your products. They all look like they were made with such care and such thinking it through, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck with this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great Superbooth.
You too.
Okay.